All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Man, I'm glad to be here. We got lots to talk about today. I feel lucky to be on air with you. I don't feel lucky with my bracket. I don't know how everybody else feels, Rachel. And we don't have to talk about this the whole time or anything like that. I understand you probably already talked about it. But I was going through looking at our bracket scores with my bracket people. And like we're like single digits. Like, I don't know what happened, man. Our brackets are all broken. I looked at my bracket score and I'm like, how do I only have that many points in this thing? And I'm getting crushed, but not by a lot because everybody stinks this year. And that's refreshing.
Well, for you and all of America, the brackets were broken as soon as Ohio State was out of the contest. And we do have a special guest with us today. We have Bryant Kaiser, writer of all sports, everything from the Call and Post. Bryant, my friend, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. My bracket been busted on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as the first tip of the bracket, I was done immediately.
I was good on Thursday. They got those HBCU teams out.
Yeah,
they won, and
So, Brian, what's been going on with you, man? How everything been going? Been a while since I seen you. COVID has kind of changed everything with sports reporting and things like that. How you been?
I wasn't going nowhere. Especially trying to go to the Indians game. You got to walk off 4 flights of steps. Then they don't give you nothing to eat.
What was the last part? I'm sorry.
I said, doing the Cleveland Indians games last year, you got to walk up 4 flights of steps. Then they give you nothing to eat,
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah,
no more media food.
It's been a little different, I know, and the Browns feed us for free, so that's always a nice little added bonus. So yeah, I kind of miss those days, but it's all interest in keeping everybody safe and things like that. So I'm glad that you are safe. I'm glad you are doing well, and I know that you do track officiating, right?
Yes.
Have you been, are meets starting, or have you been able to do that, or what's the deal with track meets and stuff?
I stayed on the sideline. I didn't do no football, no basketball, no track, track is easy, but I don't know if they, with the track, I usually do the Cleveland Heights one, the Weingart relays. But I don't know if that's going to go down this year. So everything's still up in the air, with schools, Cleveland Senate schools is not doing anything. I think they're trying to get back to normal, but I'm not sure. They had no football, no basketball. So the kids had to leave Glenville or Rose to go somewhere else. Cleveland Heights, Central Catholic. It's been very bad for the seniors who's trying to get somewhere.
Yeah. That's a one thing, about that senior year, man.
I know, man.
Everything happened. You're on top of the world. And then it just gets snatched away from you.
We did just see, as I was coming in, there's a group of kids right across the street here on Kinsman playing football, and they got coaches. So they must be from a school or something. But it's good to see kids getting together and getting outside this year. There's a lot of promise this year, this spring. The weather's been nice. It's getting a little warmer. You see people outside. So there's a little bit of hope in the air that maybe kids can get back to some of those activities and get back to normal a little bit. We're hoping. We're hoping.
There's always hope.
Yeah.
You mean there's a chance?
You just saying there's a chance. Unless you're the Ohio State basketball team.
Man, well, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. But Shook, since you're here with us today, before we get to, some NFL talk, what are your thoughts about, what took place over the tournament, where we're at now, but just that L taken from Ohio State, because they said once Ohio State left, it was like 0.1 something brackets were still correct. So people actually had Oral Roberts beating Ohio State, which is something crazy. But
there's a lot of people that knew something about that point guard, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I said it when we were talking about the tournament before it happened. I said, look for experienced point guards from the smaller schools. That's something that makes a difference when you get it at the tournament. And then the other thing I kept saying is, it's been such a crazy year in general. If there's ever going to be a year where a little school wins the championship or goes all the way through, wouldn't this be the year that all your brackets would get busted? And I came in here and I said, don't bet against the MAC. Make sure you're betting on the MAC. And then what did I do? I didn't pick OU. I didn't take my own advice. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I was preaching, take the little schools, take OU, take the MAC, and I didn't do it at all. And now I'm sitting here just getting abused in my group chat about my bracket.
Because you're a poser. You're a poser.
God.
You're going to say, take the small school, but then take the small school.
Nope.
You're a poser.
Because I just don't take big risks, Rachel. I don't take big risks. I just take little tiny risks.
But they were our only Ohio hope. Ohio University. Mainly if you had Cleveland State winning their first matchup. They hung in there as much as they could, but just too much firepower, and they're a young team.
Yeah,
so that's a good thing. So you could easily see them, being back next year. But obviously they were, outmanned. But OU was the last Ohio team standing, surprisingly, which is good. Great for the program, great for the MAC. But
I'm pretty sure the Cavs would have been knocked out already. I don't know that the Cavs would have made it out of the first round.
First game.
They might have been struggling right now. Because from what I've heard, and tell me if you've heard the scuttlebutt on this, both of you. Have you heard the rumor that Dan Gilbert's young son has been making a lot of the executive decisions for the organization, with Dan being a little absent right now, and he's got zero NBA experience. He's got no experience, and he's in there calling shots, and you wonder why they're having some trouble. Have you heard this rumor?
Yeah, Brian, why don't you attest to that? You've covered the Cavs as long as I was going to say Methuselah, but just kidding. But, you've been there through that organization. You've seen it all. What are your thoughts in particular about that? Because right now this organization appears to be a rudderless ship. So what are your thoughts about that, seeing this organization through everything?
Like I told you last week, I hate the way what they're doing with Drummond. Here's a guy, he's probably the best player on the team. Then you don't want to play him. You got to stay in shape before you could trade him. So he haven't touched to play a game of basketball in about a month. Trade deadline's in a couple of days. How good shape he's going to be in. Where would you trade him? Who will want him?
Yeah. You would think that they would want his value up, and he was really getting a lot of attention because he was having a very good season. He was making a difference on a bad team. But he was under that spotlight every night where he had a chance to shine and get that trade value up. And almost out of spite, they've done what so many NBA owners do, which is sit down, player. I'm in charge, you're not. And they thumb their nose at him. And now nobody wins. Now the organization looks petty. Now Drummond looks like a malcontent. And now on the trade block, what do they get for him now? I still think he'll go to a contender, though. What do you think about where he's going to end up? I still think, Brian, he's going to end up playing for somebody. We're gonna watch him in the playoffs this year.
Well, Philadelphia is going to need one. Joel Embiid is, painless. He's in a lot of pain. They're going to need a center down the stretch. Yeah. They still had a number one seed so far. Brooklyn, who knows when Kevin Durant gets back? Is he on the court? He's off the court.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving is out for 3 games. So a lot of people is hurt in the Eastern Conference. And where's Boston fit in all this?
Right.
They try to get rid of our friend Thompson. So
already?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Have you watched him play?
Well, they got rid of Terry Rozier for Kemba Walker, and Walker's really not panning out because you got Jason and you got the two big boys in there. So
and Terry Rozier balling out down there in North Carolina too.
Absolutely, man.
And it was doing good with Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah Thomas not was on the team no more. So he's not even in the league.
It's funny how these teams make decisions like that. Like Terry Rozier is one of those guys that you're getting a good value from, probably a better value than Kemba Walker, because Kemba Walker showed some flashes where people really thought he was going to take that step. But Terry Rozier was the guy that was doing all the work without getting all the money. You could have gotten Rozier, and then he went away. Now you gave him that, he's got to get you back clause in his contract where he's going to go down there and ball out just because nobody believed in him. That could have been you. And you let him go for Kemba.
Well, these guys always think that they know, more than anybody else. And, just bringing that back to, Grant Gilbert, who was set to take over the team. It's been 2 years since Dan had his stroke. So first of all, that time passes fast. But, with the pandemic and everything else, people forgot about that. But, you see this happen every day in corporate America where, an organization is giving the reins to somebody who has no knowledge and don't know whatever they're doing. And then, you look at why this team is a cluster and nobody knows what's going on. Kobe Altman is, hog-tied when it comes to moves. And now you see why, you got this smiley face kid calling the shots, not knowing what he's doing. And it's to the detriment of the team. This team is unbearable to watch. Colin Sexton, obviously is one of the bright spots, but kind of outside of that, it's hard for them to make a draw. It's hard for people to get behind this team. Obviously the talent deficiency is there, but it's hard for people to get behind this team. And now we are seeing why. He has zero experience, but it's always the boss's kids coming in telling everybody what to do and don't know nothing. So you won't let people do their jobs. But that was the same thing evidenced by Dan Gilbert. Dan would not let people do their jobs. He won't let the basketball people do what they needed to do. And it worked in some cases and didn't work in a lot. And that's one of the reasons why LeBron went away. Fortunately, he came back and he won the title. But now we see why these players aren't wanting to play for this organization, why they're sitting out, why Kevin Love stay hurt.
Don't we all feel like we could be an NBA GM, though? Don't we sit down and watch? Don't we watch it like, man, if I was the GM, I'd do this. He just did what we all wanted to do. If my daddy owned the Cavs, I'd want to be the GM, too.
And I don't even play fantasy.
Hey, Pops, put me in.
I don't even play fantasy and think I could totally do
it. And the spotlight is on us.
Yeah.
Because the All-Star game is next year. And who's going to be our All-Star?
Man, they better bring Ilgauskas back. we need somebody signing to a 10-day.
Can you imagine we hosted an All-Star game without an All-Star?
Sexton has got to be the closest one we've got.
Yeah.
But, he had a good
He's
start
a ball hog.
Yeah.
Sexton holds that ball too long.
All-Star voting favors the ball hog.
You can't play defense.
Mm-hmm.
All-Star voters love a ball hog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Brian, what do you see, out of these Cavs? Could they slip into one of these playoff spots at one of the lower seeds?
My thing is, what they gonna do with Kevin Love? Dellavedova. Why did they get Dellavedova back? He's got a concussion, so it's like I would like to see him in the playoff, but I don't think they're gonna make it. They just got too much. Garland. Then we got this rookie scores 5 points a game. They say, well, he's good at defense, but we need some points.
All right.
All right. And Brian, we are going to have to take a quick break right quick. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM. We will be right back. is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here today with my sidekick, Sugar Booger, in the house, giving you some of the hottest sports talk, in the city of Cleveland. We can be heard throughout the world. And remember to listen to us online at WOVU.org. You can always give us a call at 216-271-0959. And we always ask you to download that WOVU app so you can take the personalities of WOVU on the go with you. So we got Brian Kaiser in the house with us, a writer for the Call and Post. Brian, how long have you been writing for the Call and Post for?
About 26 years.
26 years?
Ooh. When the Cavs finally came back to Columbus, to downtown. They was in blue and white.
Yeah, out of Richfield Coliseum.
In the Zubaz uniform.
All the Eel brothers.
I hated those ones. I hated those uniforms.
Yeah.
They were the worst. But Brian, it was just like, remember how, I guess that's like the Palace Auburn Hills, in Detroit. Like you just have a, arena out in the middle of nowhere, that you go to for everything. And it's funny because I'd never been to a Cavs game there ever before.
Really?
My dad could only afford it to take us to the Indians when tickets was like $3.
Well, you had to have a passport to get to the Coliseum. You got a stamp like you were going to Belize when you went to the Richfield Coliseum.
But I did go see the Ice Capades out there, circus. I did go see those, but we did not go see the Cavs. Those tickets were
WWF was fun. Hulk Hogan made a career in Richfield Coliseum.
Oh, really?
I saw a few of those out there, Brian. So, Brian, that's a lot of basketball. So I'm going to ask you, let's stay with basketball. So I'm going to ask you this. Because during that time, Draymond Green came out.
Yeah.
And he said he thinks he's the best defender that ever played. Now, Brian, you've seen a couple basketball games. You've covered a couple of these things. Is he the best player on defense that you've seen in your 26 years of covering round ball?
I think Dennis Rodman is probably up there more because Dennis could play some defense.
Yeah.
You get on your nerves.
Yeah.
But Dennis Rodman can play some defense.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan wasn't bad either.
Yeah.
But did you say that Draymond said he was the best defensive player to ever play the game? That's what he said. I'm the best ever.
When I think of the greatest defenders I've seen, Gary Payton is the guy that comes to mind for me.
And I take that personally.
And I say that the other one, and Michael Jordan, obviously. But I think of, even on those Pistons teams, I think of some of the things that Dumars did on defense. And, they had so many great players on those teams. Draymond Green doesn't necessarily pop into my mind when I think of all-time greats. Now, is he a great defensive player? I believe he is. I think he plays really hard. He can get into you psychologically. He can get you off your game. He's a good one. I don't know that he's an all-time great. But with that being said, that's exactly what I want every player on my team to feel about themselves. I want them to say, I'm an all-time great, because if you don't think you're great, you can't play defense if you don't believe in yourself to get out there and play against NBA talent every night.
I mean, like, just two defensive stats that I'm just looking at overall for the course of his career. He's never averaged more than 2 steals a game, except for in 2016, 2017, when what did they go, 72 and 8 or and then blocks, he's 0.8 on the highest. So he averages less than 2 blocks a game. So I'm thinking of those defensive things, how are you really altering the game?
Yeah, if you want to look at things like stats and facts, Rachel, if you want to look at facts, then But if you think about his mental impact that you can't see, he's the greatest that ever did it.
Oh, yeah, because he gonna talk you to death, he gonna talk you and make you mad. But was that Dennis Rodman's game more of the talking? Yeah. Was Dennis more action though?
Yeah, Dennis was action. And he'll let you know it.
Because I look at Draymond, that dude that would get in my mind immediately from the first play. You remember when LeBron said to Gilbert Arenas against that game, and he was like, you don't hit these free throws, you're going home, right? And Gilbert Arenas missed both of those free throws. Things like that. Like, I can imagine Draymond getting under my,
And I'll tell you, LeBron, if he wanted to play defense the entire game and just take someone out, I truly believe that LeBron could do that at any point he's wanted to at different points in his career. Maybe not so much now. He's a little bit older now. But when he was his prime a few years ago, LeBron could shut anybody down at any position.
Mm-hmm.
He just had other things to do. He had to go where the energy took him through the course of a game.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't, but at the end of a game, if he needed to shut somebody down, he could shut somebody down. He'd do the come from behind blocks. It's hard for me to think that Draymond is better than a guy like LeBron on the defensive end. I don't know. It's a pretty bold statement to say you're the greatest of all time at anything. Didn't work out for LL Cool J. Didn't work out for Draymond Green.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm not thinking, of him being the best player ever. Just defensive player when you look at the long history of the NBA. But I could think of him possibly being up there. But like you said, a part of that emotional aspect of the game. I definitely see him there. And rest in peace to Elgin Baylor. We didn't get a chance to really talk about that. But the NBA great, passing away. It's just, man, these past 2 years have just been a little crazy. So many things have kind of been overshadowed by the pandemic, but we've lost some great people,
right?
And the Cavs have been hit hard with the loss of Joe Tate and the former announcer, God, I can't think of off this. Fred McLeod. Yeah, Fred McLeod. Two guys who have been ensconced in that organization. So they've really taken some hits lately. Yeah. So you just wish them all the best. But, another legend that passed away. But so speaking of LeBron, LeBron is injured right now. So he's out for 3 to 4 weeks. Do we think that this injury is as serious as it's being made out to be? Or do we feel that LeBron is getting some rest? Because remember, a few weeks ago, we were talking about LeBron getting some rest or might needing some rest, and LeBron was like, "Nah, I don't need no rest." Now, he sprained his ankle. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. But from what I saw, and I'm no doctor, I don't play one on TV. That fall wasn't very hard, and then the dramatics after of the pounding the floor and stuff like that. That was very. What is that movie he got coming out?
Space Jam.
Yeah, Space Jam. So that was very Hollywoodish with that ending and how much pain he was in. Because LeBron,
that much to an ankle to have it hurt.
LeBron is a machine, man. I'm just I kind of thinking that those 3 or 4 weeks is just to get him some rest. Because what happens when those 3 or 4 weeks are over?
You know what they should have done? Let these guys take a break over the All-Star break like they told them. Then LeBron would be okay right now. They wouldn't let him take those days off. Now look at you. Yeah. Good luck with that. Rest in peace to LeBron's ankle while we're talking about things that went out this year.
Now LeBron's ankle is going to have a Twitter account.
No doubt.
But I just look at the timing of it. The timing looks very suspect to me because when his injury is over, the playoffs began. So
Davis is out too. So how long?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, ooh.
That's going to get ugly down the stretch.
How much longer is AD out?
Another couple weeks, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I think he's still got a couple more weeks that he's going to be out. So, that's going to be a stretch for them. And positioning in the West, man, you lose a couple games and you're dropping significantly. And seeding matters in the West. In the East, there's not a huge difference between your 3rd seed and your 8th seed. There's really not that big of a difference between some of those higher seeds and lower sides. But out West, you go down 1 or 2 spots. That's a huge difference out there, man. So I don't know how they're going to take that together. They've got a heck of a challenge ahead of them. And that goes back to what we were talking about the other day, Rachel, where LeBron it was last year's championship, one of LeBron's greatest championships, and the pressure that we talked about, all of that. You said no, but look at this year. They dropped down the seeds. He's got an injury. Let's say they drop down to a 5 seed, or a 6 seed or something like that. And when LeBron comes back and wins the championship, you don't think that becomes one of his greatest championships and he brings them back, puts them on his shoulder?
There's nothing like 56 years.
Yeah.
Is it your birthday?
Huh?
Is it your birthday?
What are you talking about?
56 years.
No, I ain't that old. Don't be trying to play me.
I wasn't sure.
I'm talking about not winning a title. Yeah, because Brian, we talked about this last week, but I said to me, I don't feel like winning that title in Miami, winning that title in LA, because he never cried. He cried, he sobbed, he boo-hooed like when he won with the Cavs. So to me, I don't care who he's with. That championship, relieving this city of the drive, the fumble, the shot, all those other things, those demons finally went away for the next 56 years, because who knows, maybe the Browns are going to be bringing us one. Those demons went away. They could have went away again that season with the Indians, but that didn't happen. But, I'm leave that alone. But, it finally went away. And I think that is the biggest burden. And plus, you're from Ohio. You saw a lot of these things going on. To me, that was the biggest title of all. I don't think any other title he has. And I know he would publicly admit that at the end of his career, that nothing ever, meant more than that one. Brian, what say you about that?
Yeah, because like 5 years ago, we down 3-1. Who would have thought we would have came back and won that championship?
Nobody.
And Draymond was one of the things that helped us win. We got kicked out one game, and hey, we in game 7.
Yeah. A
block shot by LeBron, and next hey, we celebrated a championship.
Kevin Love put in some work.
Oh my God.
Kevin Love put in some footwork. That's the last time Kevin Love put in some work on this Cavs team.
Yes.
And then, you had Kyrie making that shot.
Yeah.
So, everything perfectly fell in line, fell into place. And I didn't even mention 3 games behind. They was like, don't get on this plane if you don't think you can win. I probably wouldn't have got on the plane, though, quite honestly, with what we was facing. I don't know if I would have got on. I'm like, man. So, I know that's
terrible. I know. Speaking of Kevin Love, I want to shift gears just a second to get to another topic that I know you wanted to touch on a little bit. And what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the topic. I'm going to let you think about it while we take our break, Rachel. But speaking of people never playing again, Kevin Love, will he ever play again? I don't know. But Deshaun Watson and what's going on there, you raised an interesting question today. Is Deshaun Watson ever going to play again?
That's Brian. That's Brian saying that.
Is he ever
in the CFL?
We're going to get into that when we come back. This is Her in the Huddle.
Where's Johnny Manziel playing at?
Oh my God. He's in that Choose Your Own Adventure League. Rachel Hill, First Lady of Sports. We got some news and notes from the station. We'll be back right after that with more Her in the Huddle.
Yes, that's right. WOVU 95.9 FM has a new mobile
Yeah, he's in that Choose
This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. And I'm here with my guy, Sugar Booger. What's up, Sugar Booger?
Yeah. I'm interested to talk to Ryan, man, about this Deshaun Watson thing, because he brought up a great talk. Deshaun's been in trouble. Is this guy going to play again? Let's hear your what is your synopsis there, Brian?
CFL.
He's going across the board.
Harsh. But let me ask you guys though, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday. We didn't really get into it that much because yesterday it was a lot to talk about, you know. And also, rest in peace to the people who were shot in Colorado yesterday, also last week. And it's very ironic how we talked about Asian hate in the same night the shooting happened. Yeah. We talked about that. But going back to that, first of all, just the timing of the allegations. I told the audience I believe women, I support women. I've been a domestic violence advocate, also been in the hospital rooms after women have been sexually assaulted while they're getting their rape kit done. So I believe women. I just look at the timing of this, and I just look at this as very suspect. All of a sudden, all these people are coming out of the woodwork at all these, you know, massage parlors, the civil suits by the attorney who's bringing it on. There was a lot of connections that were being talked about yesterday when we were on air. So a lot of shady business, and I don't know if I can't say for sure I believe these allegations and just the timing of it, because one thing America hates is powerful Black people. And one thing is they don't like people like Deshaun Watson, who is trying to, you know, determine their future and want to be forced out, because, you know, America's, you know, outlook is we gave you these things. We have allowed you to have this. We've allowed you proximity to wealth, to whiteness, to access, and you should be grateful for these things. And now you trying to tell us what you're going to do. It's just mighty suspect with the timing of everything, in an attempt to tarnish his reputation when he wants out of Houston. And we see the lengths that people go to damage powerful Black people.
I think that happens. I know we've talked about it happening, and I agree with you 100% that happens. When there are 17 women,
dang, 3 more since the show started.
When they say that 14, 17, whatever it is, when you've got 2 women that are willing to come out and say they've been sexually assaulted. And my thing is this, I agree with the women too. I side with women in cases like this because it takes something to empower you to stand up. Now, my thinking is this. I think that what probably happened to this organization is they had protected him from getting caught in this. I don't think it's that he didn't do it. So my thing is, I think they had this for him. They protected him with this, and now they're saying, if you want to go, here you go, and they're pulling it out now. That's what I think. So
which is even worse.
Right. Well, I agree with you. That's not even worse to me, because that still means that Deshaun Watson did it.
No, but I'm saying that they protected him.
Then it's scumbag. You're right. If he did it, I have zero sympathy for him. But
absolutely,
you know, my thing is this: you're right. It does show that organization had their priorities messed up. If that's the case. We probably won't know the motivation behind it at all. We're never going to know the true motivation behind it. But my thing is, I do hate to see when a Black athlete tries to position themselves in a position to better themselves, and an organization does things to block it. In this case, I when it comes to sexual abuse or domestic abuse and things like that, I don't have much sympathy for an athlete in that. If it was completely false, which if it ever comes out and it's completely false, there's no evidence and this was just made up, then I would feel horrible for Deshaun Watson. Usually in situations like this, when you have this happening, though, it's not that was false. It's that they covered it up first and then let it out.
Because
that would be incredible.
Also, if they was covering up for him, I would never leave if I was him.
Yeah, well, that's it.
So there's so many nuances to this. Yeah. Brian, what do you think? You talking about he gonna go to the CFL? What are your thoughts about this whole situation, Brian?
I mean, 16, you know, Houston, I think the organization had probably held it back. Mm-hmm. You want to leave? Here's the baggage that we helped you with. Yeah. You know, it's, I hope it's not true, but could he put the stuff back into the horse after they already put it out there? Yeah. I mean, what would Deshaun Watson do? How, you know, every team he gonna go to, they're gonna be asking what happened over there, what happened there. You know how the reporter's gonna say. You can't go to New York.
But out of the different leagues, though, it seems like the NFL in a lot of cases has traditionally been the one that's gotten people passed on. Now, Ray Rice with the physical assault things, they didn't get past it. But if they can't prove it and he gets off, the NBA or the NFL has a tendency to be able to clean up reputations to at least get people back to play. You think of what happened with Michael Vick, and they got him back out there. I know it's different. It's dogs versus women, but that was a huge thing. You look at the NFL can kind of clean up some things, but I think that it would have to come back that they find some link that this is completely false. If there's a hint that this might happen, or if he settles out of court or whatever it ends up being, I don't think he can come back from that. I don't think there's a chance. I think you're exactly right. I think he'd have to go elsewhere. I don't even know if they'd take him in Canada. I don't know where he.
Well, first of all, nobody's allowed to go to Canada right now. The border's closed.
That's a good.
So,
not even the Toronto Raptors. Stay in Tampa.
Right. But he can play.
They won a championship, right?
That's right, man. We were talking off air, Brian.
Raptors.
We were talking about that Johnny Manziel Choose Your Own Adventure League. Have you watched any of that? Where he's playing now, where the fans pick the uniforms, they pick the players, they pick the teams, and then they pick the plays. Like the fans vote real time, just like they're playing Madden. So he might be able to go down there and pick the plays and maybe play in that league. But other than that, I think his options are very, very limited. And you know
just
what?
Like Josh Gordon, he's going down there too.
That's what I was just telling Rachel that I saw that.
But Josh has been given so many chances. He don't deserve anymore. He hasn't really deserved the ones he's had. Yeah. And if it wasn't for his talent, he would be at a car wash or something like that. If it wasn't for his talent alone. But, I don't feel sorry for Josh Gordon anymore. Cleveland gave him plenty of chances.
What if Martin Lawrence, welcome to Hoochie Burger?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But Cleveland gave him multiple chances. Remember during Hard Knocks when, he was so excited that Josh Gordon had landed in Cleveland? He's like, the bird has landed. And this was one of the worst ball-headed baby birds of all time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think what Delonte West shows with his career so true is if Josh Gordon wasn't a marijuana addict, which is, by the way, the first one I've ever heard of him.
I was about to say, does that even exist?
But if that's the case, people had very little sympathy with that. People are rooting for Delonte West for him to get better and improve himself because it was a different type of drug. I feel like part of what gives Josh such a negative stigma around that is because it seems like a ridiculous thing. And I kind of do feel bad for him for that, because if there is such thing as a marijuana addiction, if he's got a mental illness, he is getting drugged through the mud when he's clearly got a problem. The guy needs help. But nobody is taking it serious because of what it is. And that's not really fair either.
Yeah, but he need to be honest about that then. Stop playing around, and it's been enough people who have came out about mental illness issues that people will help you, and take it serious and try to give you the help you need instead of trying to put it off on a marijuana addiction, which I've never clinically heard of one existing.
But that's the thing about mental illness, though. You have to be able to recognize it and admit it before you can get help for it. And he's not there. Clearly, there's a mental illness.
Well, maybe he's there, but he ain't scared, and it doesn't fall into the tough guy football image. But they're in a car accident every play, so I can understand your brain got jostled, and it's all about electronics and wiring. So, those of us who know, I just don't understand that mentality, but that's part of how we socialize people. But ain't nothing to, be scared of, get you some, medication and some drugs. It's not that bad.
Well, Ricky Williams left the league for marijuana.
Oh my God. That was it.
Let me ask you all a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You 18 years old. You get millions and millions of dollars with no actually directions attached. What are you gonna do?
Oh man, at 18,
save it and invest in some property and try to start my own business. I want to write a children's book.
Mm-hmm. But most of them don't know the directions. They probably go to the strip club and they do this and do that with that money. It's buy cars. Car for everybody.
I would have had my entire body dipped in gold. I would have looked like
ignorant.
I would have looked like C3PO out here, just chilling with all that money. I would have been. But you're right.
Brian is ignorant.
No, Brian, you're right. We give these kids the golden ticket and let them into the chocolate factory, but we don't tell them about the stomach ache they're gonna have if they eat it all at once.
Like Veruca Salt.
Right.
She wanted it all. I want it all.
Yes.
I want it all.
We don't tell them about that bellyache, and that gets really hard. What do you think, Brian? We've seen such a focus on mental health in these sports. We talked about Kevin Love earlier, and we talked about Josh. Do you think these leagues need to step up some of that mental health stuff so that we don't have these issues coming up later and we can protect some of these players?
Well, a while back, I talked with Derek Anderson. You remember him from the Cavs?
Yeah,
Kentucky. He says when they have a rookie league, when the rookies come in, they said they have people come in and tell you what you're about to get into. You're making millions of dollars.
The rookie symposium.
Yeah, you got
It's
you
here.
You got this coming at you. You got that coming at you. You got Uncle Joe and Aunt Betty. They all coming at you. They want this money. They really don't care about you. You know, who's an Anton Walker? He's broke already. I mean, a lot of people, they get this millions and millions of money.
Allen Iverson.
Iverson. I'm glad LeBron is doing something positive with his money.
Right, and that's a blueprint. But the thing is, most of these athletes are coming from generational poverty.
Yeah, that's part of it. Most of the athletes that I know that I grew up with, they have
Painesville, Ohio.
Right, like Chris Fields, Ohio State Buckeyes, for example. If you want to really go there, Shaker Heights. Not everybody goes to Shaker.
He's from Painesville, Brian.
Home of Don Shula. We'll just throw that out there, Rachel. No, but athletes, no matter where they are, have a couple of different mind states. There's some athletes that are very arrogant because they think that they run the world because they've had a privileged run through school and nobody stopped them and they got some breaks along the way. And then you've got some athletes that feeling like they're not vulnerable to anything. They feel like that's not going to happen to them. Like athletes have a different mindset. And I think even though they're getting that information, I don't know that they all take it in. Like DA said, he took it in, but he knew other guys that were there with him that weren't paying attention to that. I'm thinking, I wonder how much like psychological evaluation they do. How much do they talk to these guys about their background? How much do they get into, let's get some therapy going because you are from generational poverty. You are from maybe a single parent home in a bad neighborhood. Let's talk about the PTSD of being a young black kid in a tough neighborhood. Let's get you help for that and get you there, because if you just lay it out there and say, come get it, that is that part. That's the last thing that these, like Bryant was saying, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids with $1 million. The last thing they want to say is, you know what, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and get some mental health help as well, because I need that. They're not. So I wonder if the league maybe needs to do more profiling and understanding the kids, like psychological testing and profiling. I know they do some of that with the combine. I hear them talk about some of that in the NFL, but I wonder how much they act on it and how much they go, we'll get a psychological profile just so we can see if we want to draft you. Once we get you in, we know you had a couple of red marks on your profile, but we're not going to do anything about it because now we got you under contract. Just go play ball, Yeah,
so we're going to finish up on that. We have to take another break, head into our last break, the last stretch of the show. So we'll finish up on talking about that, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of these free agency moves that the Browns have been making lately. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. 95.9 FM. This is your girl Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here in studio with Sugar Booger, and we have our special guest Bryant Kaiser from the Call and Post with us on the line. But one of the things I was thinking, we were just talking about some of the help that could be given to these rookies because of the situations that they go through, and maybe help with, what we on the outside is perceived to be mental illness, but it's being presented a different way by the players. But maybe during that rookie symposium, and I don't know if they have this, but linking them up with a mentor, somebody who used to be a player to kind of help guide them through this process, somebody who's been successful and not broke. You know what I'm saying? That'll try to take advantage of. I'm not saying that somebody will, but linking them up with somebody who could be beneficial for them to talk to, who's been through this, but that relationship has to, that player also has to want that relationship too, but I don't know, because it's just sad that, we've socialized people that they can't ask for help and is looked upon as a bad thing. And that's part of the generational curses that are passed down as well, calling people crazy. Well, don't talk to them, they crazy, where, people are knowledgeable about what mental illness is, and it's cast as something else to people's detriment. And it's just not right.
Correct. NBA too, and you look at the NBA, we've talked about it several times. Look at the way that Kevin Love is treated versus the way Kyrie Irving is treated with mental health issues. Kevin Love needs love. He needs hugs. Oh my gosh, Kevin Love, how brave. Kyrie comes out and says he needs a mental break, and he goes, he's selfish. He's an issue. He's a cancer on the team. He's taking breaks for mental health reasons too, but because he doesn't present it the way Kevin Love does, and because he's a young black player, he's vilified for it. So how many of these kids want to come out and speak out about it when they have these issues? Because black people are not allowed to be mentally ill. Nope. And that's we are not allowed to have mental illness. It's always something about our blackness and not about us being mentally ill. That's just something that America does not allow black people to have. And it's just a condition of being black, or just a bad person, not because there are mental health issues, as you see these killings when responding to mental health calls. So yeah, Brian, what say you before we move on?
I'm on board what you say, First Lady of Sports. It needs to be done. Mental health needs to be talked about. Like I said, this players go through a lot. You got to travel. I mean, you like I say, you $18 million. You travel for different cities. You got to learn everything. It's kind of hectic. And, one-on-one, point A.
Yeah, just think about this pandemic. Just think about people in the bubble, in the NBA bubble, how you confined to your hotel room, pretty much all day.
Can't go nowhere.
People bring your food. And we were confined to our houses, but we could step outside. Right. Where that kind of couldn't happen, and you were just confined to Disney. You couldn't go anywhere. So now that I think about it, I didn't feel sorry for them, because I'm like, money, helps all that. But now I'm getting older and I'm becoming more of an adult and more empathetic. And I'm like, I can understand that could be hard, even though I'm broke and they're not. I understand how something like that could be difficult. But fellas, go ahead.
I would have went batty too if I had a bid.
Yeah.
I can't go nowhere. I'd be happy to lose.
You can only watch Disney stuff so many times.
So many times you're going
reruns of Law and Order
and watch alligators. One time I had to stay at the facility. We took our team, and in a pond right behind our hotel, there was an alligator back there, and the girls were feeding it goldfish crackers. And I'm like, that don't want no goldfish. It won't human beings. Right. But they're and he's eating the goldfish crackers, and they're literally tossing goldfish crackers to the alligator. But fellas, before we get out of here,
toss me goldfish crackers, I'll eat them too. But I still want to steak.
First of all, I don't like goldfish crackers. I don't like Cheez-Its.
Brian, this is the pickiest.
You don't like Tang.
I know. Did you see my post? I got Tang.
Yeah, you don't like Tang.
No, I like Tang. I like Tang.
You like Tang?
Somebody sent me some. It was tartar sauce I posted about the other day.
You're the only
tartar sauce.
I've ever met that still admits to liking Tang. That's not an astronaut. You're the only person that likes Tang that has never walked on the moon.
You didn't drink it in the 80s?
Yeah.
Okay then.
I also ate paste. I was 8. What do you want me to tell you?
You were that gross kid.
Oh yeah, I was that kid.
That was different. You were just gross. You were. Really? Did you eat glue too?
No. Watley Turner was the kid in our class that ate paste.
Watley, that sounds like
and
that.
I still tell Watley, there goes old paste eating Watley.
But that sounds like the name of somebody who would eat paste.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
it's just perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just perfect. So fellas, before we get out of here, I want to get some of your thoughts, and we might have to keep this tomorrow. Talk about your overview of how you think the Browns are doing so far in free agency.
I love it because what we need: defensive backs, linebackers. That's the only one that kept us out of the going to the Super Bowl, beating Kansas. We had Kansas City beat.
Yeah, thank you. I've been saying that. Brian.
We
Nobody
beat the
listen to me.
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Without a problem.
That's the only thing because we need defensive backs, and I know you'll be down there for the draft. I'll be down there for the draft. Picking number 26. I don't know how many hours we could be waiting. But,
yeah.
But we're going to enjoy it.
Rare.
After looking at what they've done in free agency,
yeah,
this is a team that they're moving. They're not going to pick 26. They're going to move up in that draft.
You think so?
They're going to go get somebody. They're going to go get a linebacker in the draft. I still believe that. Because you can. It's a linebacker is something you can get in the draft. Cornerback, safeties. A lot of times you want to find them with a little bit of biles on them.
Yeah.
Somebody that's been through the trenches a little bit, but a linebacker, a young. Not necessarily an inside linebacker that's got to call the plays. They're going to get them a linebacker. They're going to move up and grab one. I really believe that.
I was looking at the 26 picks, the history of it. Ray Lewis came out of there.
Really?
Yes.
Man, if we could just find one of those.
We found somebody.
There's a Ray Lewis at 26 in every draft, right?
Yeah.
That diamond in the rough. Sometimes you just hit and, you want that person that got something to prove. But, this is part of the plan. And you saw, you get your quarterback. You shore up your offensive line to protect him so he can actually do something. And now you get this defensive, defense together because, Brian, I've been saying the same thing since that game. To me, that there's no reason why they should have lost that game when Pat Mahomes went out and you were 2 stops away. But you couldn't stop Chad Henne because I didn't even know Chad Henne was still in the league. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I was like, Chad Henne, he's still in the league.
We're gonna beat him.
To quote Deion Sanders, don't blame it on the Henny.
Yeah,
okay, it wasn't no Henny.
Anything is possible. But just to see that, and if we had a mediocre defense, they could have got that stop, and he got 2 crucial stops that kept the clock.
And he ran that one out. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, but it kept the clock going in essence, took us from being able to do anything. And, in that fourth quarter, that potent offense has broken down, but you didn't have a defense that could get them off of the field.
Well, I tell you, when I'm looking at the free agency, if I'm John Johnson, safety that came over, the one thing I'm thinking is when I get to Cleveland, I still got to be able to beat out Anderson Sendejo to get on the field.
Is he still on the team?
I can't believe he's still starting.
They still got to beat him
in town.
But listen, Bryant, there was somebody all year, Bryant, that just kept telling their parents, I would play this week. I just can't get him off the field. John Johnson is the next one.
When I played Matt, I already released him. And nobody picked him up yet. So he's still on free agency.
So what happens when nobody picks him up?
He just goes.
He plays in the Choose Your Own Adventure League with Johnny Manziel.
He ain't even good enough for that, man.
They got a video game for that, but it's only on the original Nintendo.
He ain't even good for intramurals, man.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh, it's been terrible. But Brian, want to thank you so much for being here. You have an open invitation to come and get in the huddle anytime with us. Hopefully we'll think. I
want to say shout out to Lutheran East. They won the division.
Oh yeah, Lutheran East.
The Lou.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sam Liggins and Anthony Davis and all those who was trying to win it last year. Then the season got stopped for the COVID. So I'm glad for the seniors to be able to grab that trophy.
Yeah, that was a great story. That was a great tournament run they had.
Yeah, St. Vincent St. Mary bringing home their 9th,
The school of LeBron James.
Well, once he left there, you knew they was going to keep bringing it home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He could have left Bonnie here.
So uniforms, they like an NBA team.
I know.
Yeah, man.
Crispy.
Yeah, well, Brian, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you, and you have an open invitation to come here anytime, get in a huddle with me. And Sugar Booger, thank you as always.
Yes.
We always have a good time, and you've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. Thank you for listening. Make sure you keep it locked right here for some more entertainment, and we are out of here.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports.